Hello and welcome to Solo Scourge Healer. Now, you've seen what kind of scenarios from the introduction that this is suitable and which ones it's not suitable for. This is quite a niche build because it says Solo Scourge Healer, which sounds a bit of a contradiction. Why would you want to be a solo? The reason is this. It's for just those few people who like to see an event as they're traveling around on their own and like to be able to jump in and do something other than just hack and slash. For those who want to be able to jump in or see someone that's struggling along and be able to support with a healing roll out of nowhere, all this kind of thing, or in guild missions, people that are struggling. The idea is that you can roam the world of PvE, still be involved in all sorts of things, whether on your own or with other people as you see fit, dipping in and out, not the high-end stuff. This will allow you to do some really decent healing and barrier creation for them, while still reserving a little bit of damage. This means if you were on your own, yes, it will take longer to get through the enemies and the mobs, because you are not geared for damage, although there is some condition damage built into this build. What this is primarily built for is being happily going along, doing your story, endgame PvE, finding that someone's put out a call, can someone come and help me with this fractal, with this mission, with this story, with this dungeon, and you'll be able to do so knowing that you're bringing a really solid support class that will also do a bit of damage. But should you find yourself on your own, this can still be really fun. You can jump in and out of events where people are not expecting to be supported in the way that you're supporting them, and I really like it for that side of things. But you're certainly not going to die, that's for sure, and you just might enjoy dipping out. So it's just another string to your bow. With that, let's get on with the weapons. Armor, rather. The armor that you want is Minstrels throughout. Now, Minstrels is toughness, vitality, healing power, and concentration, with your big two being toughness and healing power, your lesser two being vitality and concentration. Now, you want that throughout all of your armor. That is what you are looking for. Now, I'm only running exotic with this because this is kind of my third string build, if you like, for my Necro. But it is a great lot of fun when I decide to employ her in that role. Now, the rune I've gone for, you really want any of the rune sets that are going to boost your healing power. They do not have to increase your boon duration. That you can choose other runes for. But I like this. I like the fact that Rune of the Rebirth gives me extra healing power all the way through. That's essential for this build. But also the boon duration, 5% and 10% boon duration, and my 0.6, ignore the next lethal blow and gain barrier. So not reduce the next lethal blow, but completely ignore it and gain a barrier. So it hasn't restored my health if the next blow would be lethal, but it certainly hasn't just ignored the lethal blow. I have got a barrier. Now, a lot of this build is about creating barrier and buffing that barrier, so hopefully that barrier will be substantial if I was about to suffer a lethal blow. Weapons, you can see, are still Minstrels. Okay, still want Minstrels, toughness, vitality, healing power, and concentration. For the sigils, I've gone for Sigil of Concentration, so that's boosted the boon duration another 10%, and of course, for a healing build, Sigil of Transference you want. Healing to other allies is increased by 10%. Again, as I've said before, although I have designed this and wanting this to be a solo build, obviously, being a healer, the idea is that as you see things going on, it doesn't even have to be an event. It can be just someone doing a hero point or something like that, and they're on their own, or there's two of them and they're struggling. Well, they'll certainly get it done if you let him and helped. Not because you'll destroy everything in your path, but because you'll keep them alive. And that can be a really nice alternative. Great lot of fun as an alternative to just pure damage all the time. So that's from the weapons. The offhand set are Dagger, Still Minstrels, and Torch. Now then, trinkets. For trinkets, there's a slight change, okay? Vitality, healing power, and concentration are the same as Minstrels. But instead of the toughness, I've gone condition damage. Now, because this is where the solo part comes in, if I didn't go condition damage there and I went toughness again, and it is the same for every single one of these trinkets, okay? If I went for toughness again, it would be much more of a pure healing build. So if what you're really looking from this is a team playing, only team playing, healing build, you do not want that condition damage there. You want toughness minstrels there again, okay? But if you're planning to do, as I suggested, just have a lot of fun, you are getting through all the PvE content, albeit a bit slower than damage would do it, but you're nowhere near dying, and you can jump in and really boost other people's defenses. But should you find yourself on your own, you're not going to be floundering around doing no damage. Here we have boosted the condition damage considerably in each one of these trinkets to make sure that you're not left completely toothless. Let's go to the build. For the build, we want Scourge, obviously, Soul Reaping, and Blood Magic. Let's have a look at each of these trait lines. Firstly, you've got the 3 skills that you can do nothing about. Let's have a look at the ones we could choose. Ritual of Life. Cast Lesser Well of Blood when reviving an ally. Wells of Blood revive allies every pulse. So you would start reviving an ally, and this Well of Blood will appear. And what will happen is you'll get a nice self-heal of 5,000. And you'll get health per second. The revive percentage will be 7%. You can do 5 at once if you've managed to bring them together. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Altogether, a really good support trait. Life and Death. Heal and partially revive allies in an area when you exit Shroud. So the area is quite narrow. It's 360. But if you were into your shades and you did that in and out near an enemy, an ally rather, that either needed healing or was even down, this would rescue them. Then lastly, Transfusion. Shroud skill 4 heals and partially revives nearby allies, up to 5 of them. Okay, up to 5 nearby downed allies are teleported to you. Okay, it needs to be within 600. It needs to be the radius. Okay, and they'll be teleported the entire 600 to you. 5 nearby downed allies are teleported to you upon using Shroud skill 4. And there's a revival of 2% per pulse. There's 9 pulses, so they'll be at nearly 20% health and healing. Next is Soul Reaping. So look at the ones you can choose. Marks become unblockable and generate life force. So when you dodge and you put this mark down, okay, they are unblockable and they generate life force, this bar. So not just recovering your health and bleeding enemies, but now you will also get 3% of this life force back just by doing a dodge. As long as you stay in it, of course. The next choice, Gain Vitality. Your incoming healing is increased and your vitality is increased. My vitality is at nearly 30,000. That's pretty good for a light class. And my incoming healing is increased by 20%. That's healing to me. My own healing is increased 20%. Obviously, I can't heal others if I'm dying myself, so that's a good trait to have. And the third option is this, Gain Life Force every interval up to the threshold. So even if you did nothing to regain your life force, this is the threshold. It's 16,000 at the moment, and that will regain it automatically up to 66% by doing nothing. You mustn't be in the Shroud at the time. Gain protection when you do enter the Shroud. And then of course Scourge. Let's have a look at what we could choose. Granting an ally a barrier, which you'll be doing a lot, removes conditions afflicting them and grants might. So it removes a condition for every barrier that you create for them, of course. So you create more than one barrier, that removes more than one condition and gives them 10 seconds of might. The next choice we had, Manifest Desert Empowerment. Manifest Sandshade, which is the big one, that one. Manifest Sandshade grants a barrier to allies near it. So 10 allies, a radius of 300 around that shade will get them a barrier. And of course you can place this, it's got a range of 900, it's got a radius of 300, so you can place that near a group of 10 or near a group of any without endangering yourself whatsoever to give them a barrier, and as soon as it's recharged you're ready to do another one. You can only, it says 3 on a recharge, but you can only have 1 active at a time. So although that's on recharge, we've treated it that way with this one, which is summon only 1 shade at a time. This greater shade has a modified recharge, influence a larger area with shade skills. Demonic Law. Torment you inflict deals increased damage and causes your foes to burn. I'm torn between these two, to be perfectly honest. Now, the reason why I'm torn is this. If at the moment, I can only use 1 of these at a time. It says 3, but when it recharges, if I clicked another one straight away, the first one will disappear, even though it hasn't expired. The damage is the same, the barrier is the same, the torment is the same. The number of targets it helps and torments goes up to 5 from 3. And the count recharge in between me bringing out a new one is 10 seconds instead of 8. The radius also of it helping people is up to 300 from 180. Okay, so people would have more liberty, if you like, to be a little bit further from it to help them. But I can only do 1 at a time. If I was to switch to this one, bearing in mind what we're doing, Solo Scourge Healer, and that you're dipping in and out of helping people, we're not talking about raiding parties or even a squad, right? We're talking about maybe jumping in where you see that help is necessary, or in a dungeon or in a fractal where the group sizes are not huge. If you switch to this one, you can still target 3 others. Your damage is the same, your barrier is the same, your torment is the same, but now you can do more than 1. Okay, so you can help different pockets of people at once, and each one will target 3 at a time. Okay, and the count recharge is down to 8 seconds, but the radius is smaller, so you'd have to be more precise with helping, but at least with a lower recharge. So I'm very tempted to go for this one instead, because we're going solo. We've got a lot of torment in this build, and we've only got our accessories and trinkets to be able to increase our condition damage. This would increase it further. Torment you inflict deals increased damage and adds another condition and causes them to burn. This trait can only inflict burning on a particular target once every 3 seconds. Okay, so just because you trigger torment more than once and it will be increased damage doesn't mean you would always trigger burning on the same enemy if 3 seconds hadn't expired. But actually, on reflection, I think I prefer to go with this one, so that when I am playing solo, I have more damage at my disposal, and because the group size that I'm likely to team up with is not likely to be a large party, as in squad size or in raid size, I think that's more beneficial than this one. Skills. Well, as you can see on the staff, this gains life force, also pierces. This one does bleeding damage, also get regeneration and life force, and all of these are unblockable. The enemy can't do anything about these. More life force, more conditions. More life force and conditions removed. Transfers conditions from yourself to foes when they trigger it. So we looked at condition removal earlier and we decided not to do it. That's why. And lastly, this causes fear. Now, our fear doesn't do anything other than standard fear, but the way we're treated. But at least it is there, available if you needed a bit of space, and of course more life force available. Swapping your weapon set, you have the dagger, which is very strong indeed. Has a bit of healing in there for you, has a great amount of life force to help you get back up there. You would do that while you're out of life force, waiting for that to recharge. And then, of course, your torch is where the torment comes in to be able to give you some damage of your own. Onto the utility skills. Now, the healing one I've gone for is Punishment, Sand Flare. Grant nearby allies a barrier. Convert a boon on nearby enemies into Torment and Cripple. Okay, so not too worried about the boon on enemies into Torment and Cripple. The self-heal is 4,500. The barrier is huge at 6,700. Now, my my alternatives, you've got this siphoning one, but as an immediate heal, it's no good at all. It's only while that's hitting. This gives you a better healing and a condition heal if you want that instead of what we have here. It has a bigger heal, as you can see. We have a lower recharge, and we have a barrier. Now we are traded to make the most of barriers, so I quite like that. This Well of Blood is good. We'll also give a revive percentage in this Well of Blood. It's also a really solid alternative for sure. To be honest, I'm torn between these two. The only difference is I don't have to stay in the Well of Blood with this one. I can move around, grant allies a barrier, and move back out, and they can move back out, and they've still got their barrier. This one doesn't. But that's up to you. This skill is essential for drawing in more life force. This gives you 10% life force just by triggering it, but also if you had enemies around you, another 2% per hit. So if you've had 5 targets around you, let's say for argument's sake, and you hit each of them, you would then get 20% life force just by hitting that skill, which is very helpful indeed. This one generates life force while you're in combat. Again, that's important because these shades are going to be triggered all the time. That's what you want to be creating the barriers, to be able to convert in conditions and causing problems. But if you trigger it, this is what happens. Sacrifice health, and you can see from here, watch this go down to, it shows you what it will go down to. Sacrifice health to revive one downed ally in a target area. So you would aim this at where the ally is, and wherever they are, so long as it's within range, which is 900, you would revive that ally. That's, again, a really important skill when it comes to what we're dealing with a Scourge Healer. Then finally, I've put that. Now you can change this out for whatever one you want. There's lots of alternatives that you might find more attractive than this one. I'll tell you why this one. This is the self-preservation one. I know I'm doing. It's because all my other skills, apart from in the dagger here in the second one, lots of them are to do with barrier creation. Barrier is not your health pool. This, if you like, and even this health skill, the self-healing is 4,600. It's okay. It's not the best, but it's okay. But I choose it because of the big barrier that comes with it. This is my get out of jail card on the Necro. My speed of movement is increased while I've got it just sitting there, which is very nice. Means I haven't had to trait that somewhere else. But strike and remove boons from nearby foes. Heal for each foe you strike. So I will get a healing per hit of 2,200, okay? So long as I'm around other enemies within a 600 radius, that will increase. So even if it was 2 enemies within a 600 radius, I would already be above my natural, well, about the same as my natural heal with this one, okay? But then for every boon removed, I will get another 774. So if it was a whole group, I'll do a little bit of damage. I would strip them of boons, and I would also have a nice secondary heal. This is the one that you can swap out for something more offensive if you want. Swap it out for more something. Lots of people would swap it out for Trail of Anguish. Lets you leave a trail of sand as you travel, and your allies will get boons as you go through, and it will corrupt boons that are on enemies. Things like that, whatever you fancy more. You've got this one that will pull target and all nearby foes together, chill them, and gain considerable life force. Again, increasing that. That's another great option if you want to do that. The reason I've got it in is simply for the fact that although this is Scourge Healer, you will be going solo. And you might just find, until you're comfortable, at least, with protecting yourself through barriers, until you're comfortable with that, you might find to have this secondary heal could be really useful to you. Once you are comfortable with that and you know how to manage your health pool, how to get the barriers up to protect you without panicking when this gets reduced, then I would definitely recommend swapping that out for something more adventurous. For the elite, now then, you have got minion lifesteal if you wanted to go for your summon flesh golem. Very popular choice, and it means that you'll be constantly getting healed in here by what he does. So that is a very popular choice if you wanted to do that. The reason I've popped this in, and to be honest, I do swap between the two. The reason I've kept this in is this: breach into the realm of torment for a brief time, granting might to allies. Nice. Slowing enemies. Nice. Both of those are per pulse. So there's 5 pulses, so 5 times you're going to get 10 stacks of might with this, and you are going to pile on 10 lots of slow to the enemy when you use that as well. Convert a boon on enemies into torment and cripple each punch. So a boon will be converted, and you will also get cripple on them, and you will attach burning onto them for each pulse 5 times during the last of that. So it's a pretty offensive trigger on this elite skill if you prefer to use that. Well, that is the Scourge Healer, the Solo Scourge Healer, allowing you to do a little bit of damage. It'll take you longer to get through, but you certainly will not die with this build. Jumping in to help in all manner of events, all kind of metas, all kind of dungeons. You'll be a welcome addition if they're not relying on your DPS, which they won't be when they see this coming in. I hope this was helpful.